Before we start, let's just do a quick technology check to make sure that you can hear me just fine and see the screen. Please go ahead and locate the questions panel and go to webinar and just type in a brief note, a hi, hello, letting me know that everything is good to go there. Awesome, thank you so much. And now I'm going to pass it over to our founder, Pierre Kawand.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Melissa, and welcome, Dr. Luskin. I'm so excited to have you with us today, and for everyone on the call, welcome. And just to let you know, you're in for a great treat today. This is actually a very unique opportunity to hear Dr. Luskin's insight firsthand and benefiting from all the research and work he's done over the years, including founding the Stanford Forgiveness Project, as well as the great bestsellers, the books you see on the screen. We're going to be giving away later a few of the Forgive for Good books, so stay tuned for that later in the session. And also benefiting from all the work and the workshops and the teaching that he's done at Stanford and elsewhere. So very exciting session today. Looking forward to it and to the questions at the end. And I also want to let you know today is a special day because it's also the time where we're formally announcing our Mindfulness at Work 21-day challenge. So we'll tell you more about this towards the end of the session. So thank you, and I'm going to pass it now to Dr. Luskins and get us started.
Great, and this transition should just take a moment here.
Hello, everybody. This is Fred Luskin. Nice to not see you all. I've been teaching at Stanford for 25 years, and my interest, the thing that I have found to be really helpful in the work that I do is anchoring my attention a bit on what makes people happy, what allows them to get meaning in life, and how it is that they feel that they've had a successful, valuable life. One of the distinctions that I would make, and while I'm always agreeing to talk on these kind of platforms, is mindfulness is an incredible practice, and having tried with some relative both success and failure over the years to practice, mindfulness is more of a how than a why. Like mindfulness is a practice when it's in the context of Buddhist psychology or Buddhist spiritual practice, that unfolds a why around it, why you practice. What I have found is that any spiritual or secular mindset change is best understood as how it fits into the why we practice. And what I have seen is, in the work that I do in particular, reminding people that most of what they do is to try to make themselves happy. The problem is many of the hows actually don't make people happy. That most of us share the why. So I do this, a why can be like a meta motivation or a deep purpose. And we're not even often aware of what our whys are. You can often find out by looking at the hows and how they manifest. But I have found that it's very helpful to remind people of one, it's a really good goal to remind yourself to take a moment and say, you know, today, this week, this month, one of the ways that I will measure my success is, was I happy? Did I have a positive sense of myself in the day? for many of us, we have a kind of abstract goal of happiness, but the whys are often money, status, power, experiences, excitement, certain drives, when unfortunately most of those don't actually lead to happiness. They're not against happiness, they just don't contribute that much to happiness. Mindfulness practice can show up in two ways. One, and what's really valuable, is if you can slow down a little bit and pay attention to how it is you're spending your day, if you can be mindful or aware, you can ask yourself, what am I doing? Like, am I in alignment with the things that will make me happy? Am I paying attention to things that are valuable to me? Am I behaving in a way that would lead, like a normal person, to be happy? Tricky thing is, most of us, certainly here in Silicon Valley, are rushing around too fast and are too distracted to, one, be mindful, but two, even to recognize their own discomfort. So mindfulness, or even meditation or quieting down, from what I've seen in this 21st century, is even useful in figuring out what your goals are, is even useful at a larger level of just a moment-to-moment question. Is it even possible, like staring at my phone and eating and trying to check emails and thinking about what I'm going to do tonight? Would it be possible for anybody to be happy like this? This is a high-level mindfulness practice, but it's necessary for us to really come up with, like, what are we doing and why? You know, why? What's our goal? What are we here for? The second practice of mindfulness that's useful is in the smaller, like, moment to moment paying attention of stuff. The happiness piece is both big and small. So what I'd like to offer, just for the people who are out there, is maybe a 1-minute meditation, just to connect in the simplest way with the why. So all of you, if you would just, like, if you're multitasking, please stop. If you're doing 3 things on your computer or your phone while you're attending to this, just do one. You know, just bring your attention to one thing at a minimum. And then from that place, bring your attention inward. You know, just quiet your attention down for a moment. And when you bring your attention inward, when you quiet it, slow your breathing. You don't consciously have to work at it. First, you shut down distractions. Then you bring your attention inward. Then you relax your belly and your chest and your shoulders and your musculature. And then you quiet your breathing down a little bit. And then if you're a little bit quieter, one, you want to ask yourself, like, how would I do the next hour or two if I wanted to remember that I wish to have a better experience, a happier thing? How would I do it? What would be a strategy for me? And almost all of us would come up with some aspect of slow down, pay attention, relax, try not to rush through your life, try not to get lost in 50 million distractions. Just do what you need to do and do it well. Just again, take one more breath and allow just let it go, and then bring yourself back to like more lecture type of attention. So the thing that I'm working at first is that generally speaking, happiness doesn't come by accident. That we need to notice what we're doing, how we're doing it, how distracted we are, how much hurry we have, and whether we're focused. That's like a foundation for happiness. Then the second question for happiness is, like in the bigger goals that I set for myself, do those goals include happiness? Like, when I think about my goals, when I plan my week or my month or my year, and I think I have I have to get in shape goals, and I have to make money goals, and I have to do this goals, and I have to be successful. Those are all wonderful goals. But is there also a goal called, I need to be happy. I need to enjoy this experience. That's the other place where mindfulness is essential. Right? What is my goal? And am I paying attention to me to recognize? And then do I monitor it? Am I really putting happiness or quality of life or well-being? Is it really on my menu? One of the things that happens when you put happiness or quality of life on your goal, things happen during the day, such as somebody at work bugs you, or you go to the supermarket or Whole Foods and there's too many people online, or you're stuck in traffic, or your computer breaks. If happiness is a goal, then when these inconveniences happen, if that was really a goal, you will talk to yourself in a certain way. You'll say, hey, I know that there's a lot of traffic here, or I know that I'm stuck in a long line, but I want to be happy. So the mindfulness, the attention, the recognition of choice will have you say to yourself, okay, I'm stuck online. I'll make the best of it. I'm in traffic. Unless I develop like a hovercraft where I can get away from, all the traffic, I'm kind of stuck here. But I want to be happy. I don't want to ruin my day. I don't want to miss this day. This is the only one I got. So you got happiness as a meta goal. And then you have mindful awareness or positiveness as a small term, moment to moment question, which says, can you stay in alignment with that goal? Can you stay present with the fact that you woke up in the morning and you wanted to be happy? What I put on the screen is one of Albert Schweitzer's great sayings, which is happiness is wanting what you have. That doesn't mean that you never try to change or grow or have a better future. What that means is happiness is the cultivation of the ability to be okay now. So you could say, well, I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds, or I'll be happy when I get in shape, or I'll be happy when this big work project is done. Those are perfectly reasonable goals, but they're very likely not going to lead to happiness. Happiness says instead, my life's okay. I like me. It's good enough. And because I'm okay, and because I'm relatively happy with what I have, I'd like to lose 10 pounds so I can be healthier. Or I'd like to get into shape because I like me. Or I need to finish this project because it's important to my well-being. But my happiness is not dependent on it. My happiness starts it. This is, again, a use of choice, mindful attention. Am I acting in alignment? Am I clear? Can I practice wanting what I have? Can I practice even slightly, like stuck on 101 here or wherever you live? And, can I practice at least every now and then the slowing down of attention and the awareness that says, okay, I'm in a car that's not moving. It's not a catastrophe. Let me just practice being okay with it, because I have a bigger goal that reminds me, this is what I want. What I want is not necessarily to get someplace 5 minutes earlier. What I want is to be happy. I've told myself that I need to be there 5 minutes earlier or I won't be happy. But Albert Schweitzer, and by indirect to me, is saying, happiness is wanting what you have, and stress is wanting what you don't have. You don't have to be in a state of happiness all the time. But you have to recognize that, one, you want it, and two, it's a quality of attention. It's a ability to be okay in the present with what's going on. It's actually choosing your present. It's saying, hey, I'm here. It's good enough. And if it's not good enough, I'm going to try to make it better, not out of just negativity, but out of a sense of goodwill. Stress, which is also necessary, is the desire for anything that isn't available in your world right now. So if you're stuck in traffic, and I'm often stuck in traffic. If you're stuck in traffic and you want to be someplace else, you have stress. If you're stuck in traffic and you say, hey, I'm here, I'll listen to the music or whatever, then you have a better chance of having happiness. Those interplays, those dialectics form a lot of your day, and that's why that kind of meta awareness is important. Our culture and human nature have tried to convince us that material abundance, power over things and people, physical attractiveness, youthfulness will lead us to happiness. Those are meta goals for many of us. I want to have as much money as I can, want to have as much status as I can, I want to have much control as I can, I want to have as much youthfulness as I can, I want to be physically as attractive as I can. Those are all goals that many of us subscribe to. The only problem with those is that research doesn't show them to contribute that much to happiness. Now, having more money or more attractiveness doesn't necessarily contribute to unhappiness. It just doesn't contribute that much to happiness. What they have found in terms of physical attractiveness is, I mean, pretty understandable. That one, it's what's one's own sense of oneself rather than the objective criteria. So they have asked people in some ways to rate their attractiveness or rate their desirability versus having people do the Tinder thing and rate their attractiveness objectively. The objective criteria correlates very little with happiness. The subjective correlates more, but the highest relationship between physical attractiveness and happiness is self-acceptance, is just a deep sense of, like Popeye, I am what I am, and what I am has to be good enough because it's what I am. So it's not that wanting to be like a certain objective attractiveness will make you less happy. It's actually somewhat irrelevant for happiness. They've even done studies which have shown that your partner's attractiveness doesn't have that much to do with your happiness in terms of a relationship, even though people think that it's of such profound importance. Money, they have shown, is unbelievably important when you don't have any, quite important when you have a little, modestly important as you get to the middle, and as you go further up, less and less and less important for happiness. That there is only a small increase in happiness past in cultures having more affluence or more resources available to you than what's average in the culture. So the most interesting study on what makes people happy, and many of you have heard of this study, is the Harvard studies that have been done for decades now, starting in the 30s, where they took two cohorts of sophomores from Harvard and tracked them. And during the 30s, the measurements were pretty minimal. But every 5 years, they tracked these cohorts of men to see how they were feeling, to get their physical measures, to do the whole thing. Much the Harvard cohorts liked being tracked so much that they started to bring their kids brought their kids, their kids brought their kids. And they have been analyzing this data now for 80 years. The first time the psychiatrist who led the data analysis had a public pronouncement of it was in the 70s. And he was kind of embarrassed because the results were so out of line, both with what it appeared Harvard's values were and a cultural values, because what he did, and he wrote a book on this, but what he did was say that, you know, it's kind of weird that we have all these unbelievably successful people, and what it turns out to matter is relationship is what makes people happy. The quality, the depth, the number of our relationships. That doesn't seem to make that much of a difference whether you're a senator or something, if you're good with people. And then 2 or 3 years ago, they had the next full review of the literature. And they had another public pronouncement. You can see the TED Talk on it, where the new psychiatrist responsible for this said, well, we're at it again, and we can tell you that it appears that at least for this 2 years of Harvard cohort and their generations after them, the things that are most important to people are the ability to give and receive love. And that's a striking pronouncement, that it's not just relationship, but it's the capacity to give and receive love within relationship that is the most important part of our happiness. And that is validated by when they ask people who are about to die, like what their regrets are. They take people in hospice and other, end of life situations, and they say, well, what regrets do you have? And the regrets are almost never, I wish I had made more money, I wish I had been more successful, I wish I had had a higher position. I wish I had done a little more fun and what I wanted. I wish I hadn't lost touch with my friends. I wish I had spent more time with my family. And I kind of wish I had been a little lighter through life, like not taking it so seriously. And those are the things that people approaching their end say. So we have a disconnect with most of us as to both what our big goals are and the ways in which down on the ground we are trying to manifest them. Where mindfulness is so important is how it helps us minute to minute recognize whether or not we are in alignment. So this slide, happiness, this is what makes it both easy and hard. To be happy is largely a decision, which is true, that there is research behind that at some point, most of us decide basically whether we want to be happy or we want to, and happy doesn't mean that 24/7 you're just jumping up and down. But basically we want to have a positive thing in life and we're willing to sacrifice for it, or if we're not. It's an organizing principle. This is what I've been trying to say more than anything else. It's different than you might pick up an Oprah magazine and it might say, here's 5 steps to happiness. And all of those magazines will have 7 steps to this and 4 steps to that and 5 steps to this. And I realized long ago, having been interviewed for dozens upon dozens of those magazines, that if the 5 steps worked, they wouldn't need to publish next month's issue. So you want to take that stuff with a real grain of salt, all these things you see, 5 steps and 3 steps. It's our basic orienting decisions that influence more than anything else the quality of our life and how we talk to ourselves. So happiness is largely a decision. It's a daily decision. It can be an hour by hour decision. And it's a moment by moment decision. Like when you become aware, when you get a bit more mindful, you can ask yourself very simply, is my body too tight that I can't be happy? Am I too frantic? Can I be at peace? What can I do right this second to be okay? The last slide is, I just want to review a couple simple practices that mindfulness can bring that allow us to be happier. And before I get to this, what I want to do is one more meditation in my short time with you. So again, if you all listening out there would please just again bring your attention a little bit more inward. Just bring your attention inward. Quiet your breathing down just a little, and that is best done by when you inhale, allow your belly to expand. And when you exhale, allow your belly to contract. So the simplest mindful practice is always attention on breathing, slowing down your nervous system, harmonizing your nervous system. And you just want to take a moment or two to quiet that down and slow and deepen your breathing. And then before we're finished, you want to bring an image to your mind's eye. You want to bring an image to your mind's eye of someone you absolutely adore. You want to bring an image to your mind of someone you absolutely adore. And you want to feel the affection that you have for that person. You want to feel it in your body. And you want to sit with that for just a moment. You want to sit with your body feeling the effect of love. And then you want to take a breath and open your eyes or refocus and just sit for 15 seconds or 10 seconds, just like reflecting on finding the good. You know, just reflecting on finding the good. You took us a moment out to remember love. So I made up a very simple, small list of happiness practices. I teach the happiness class at Stanford. Have done so now for almost 10 years. Little simple mindful awareness practices that lead to happiness. And again, we will only do them when we have that meta awareness of, I want this. I want to be happier. And it's a moment thing. It's right now. It's right this minute. It's where's my attention? What am I focusing on? What am I feeling? So finding the good, remembering love, looking at how beautiful it is outside, thanking somebody for being kind, remembering how lucky you are to have food, whatever it is. So finding the good takes awareness and choice. Remembering to say thank you. You know, this is such a simple happiness practice. And just to be aware whenever somebody does something that is good, thank them. But it's a mindful practice. It has to be built into our awareness to notice and say thank you. Choosing not to say harsh words takes mindfulness. So we have a choice when we're irritated or in an argument. We can choose any of an array of words. With mindfulness, with practice, with attention, we can learn to say and practice a little kinder or nothing. But these are our practices for happiness. Giving the people the benefit of the doubt takes this too. Yeah. You can give people motivation that they're bad, they're good, or you don't know. But again, It's all our own inner choice. And we need some awareness around that to recognize that we can shift it. Savoring good experiences takes mindfulness, and this is where the cell phone is so destructive to our happiness. The cell phone and our endless technology is we tend to end almost all experiences with staring at the phone. I see this in my students all the time. Class is over. I mean, many of the students, even before class is over, but class is over before anything else has happened, the phone's in their face. Well, there's no savoring. There's no moment to go, yes. We don't savor our food enough without technology. We need time to be happy. And slowing down takes mindfulness, and that's probably the overarching result. If you bring meditation and mindfulness practice to your life, you will slow down a little more. And when you slow down a little more, you have a much greater capacity to see broadly enough to bring a little more happiness into your life. Anyway, I thank you all for listening to me. I appreciate it. And thank you very much. And I hope you learned something from this half hour. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Luskin. Really appreciate your talk. And thank you all again for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and transfer back to my screen. I have a couple announcements, and then we're going to get into our Q&A. So please stay tuned. Okay. Oh, and by the way, we are having that giveaway at the end, so stay tuned for that also after the Q&A. So today we are formally announcing the Mindfulness at Work 21-Day Challenge, and we're making this initiative available to you all at no charge. Participating in this challenge gives you access to our productivity app that you might know of called Hello Mindful, which helps you implement many of the productivity and mindfulness techniques that we teach in our workshops. And you'll develop these powerful habits over the 21-day period. So you can go to the webpage hellomindful.me and click Join the Challenge to get started. And I'll go ahead and make this really easy for you and send you the link in the chat panel. So that is coming to you all there, and I'll show you the website here. So if you go here, you just click Join the Challenge. And that link I just sent will send you to this page here. And it should just take a minute to sign up. You could do that now. And we do encourage you to sign up as soon as possible because the challenge does begin on March 11th. Great. And with that, we'll go ahead and get into our Q&A, and I'll pass it on over to Pierre.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Dr. Luskin. And I think after hearing all these great insights, I feel like instead of a Q&A, we need to just savor what we heard and let it sink in. So what I'm gonna do, Dr. Luskin, instead of questions, I'm gonna run by you a few insights that I heard, and then see if you have any additional thoughts or comments on them. And we only have a few minutes, so that's why we won't expand this into a full Q&A. So first, and just to see what you think about this, is it fair to say that happiness is a choice and happiness is now? It's not if and when and at some point in the future, it is now. Does that kind of summarize, or is that a good thing from what you said today?
Let me give you like the unpleasantness between the difference between like what you read in schlocky magazines or even here in schlocky people like me. The answer is mostly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You understand? Like it's not 100% either or. So if you have really bad circumstances, Like, don't put pressure on yourselves to say happiness is only an inner game. You know, you hear that kind of stuff all the time, and it's ridiculous. What that means is, all things being equal, choice, awareness, and practice make a big difference. So, so if somebody's facing really bad circumstances, they may only struggle with those circumstances for 6 months, when somebody who has never made any of these kind of choices or decisions could struggle with it for 2 years. But don't think that it's totally like just what your inner attitude is.
Yeah, yeah, very good. So adding that mostly puts things in perspective.
And the other piece is that it's now, but it's also like what you've practiced and what your goals are. So some people may be so determined to be successful, say, in a certain way, that they're willing to make all sorts of other sacrifices for that goal. So for them, I mean, their overarching thing is, I have to have this one thing, and that's the only thing that will make me happy. And, you know, so their moment to moment is irrelevant to them. For most of us, our mood has a lot to do with what we've practiced and what our goals are, but its implementation is now. It's now. It's like, now I can choose to see something good. It's now I can just relax. It's now that I can find how beautiful a day it is. The practices are now. And the happier people, their now practices are very much in alignment with happiness.
Thank you. Thank you. And knowing that your forgiveness is one of your topics, do you see a strong relationship between forgiveness and happiness?
You know, you're asking me about forgiveness. It's I'm going to say it's close to impossible to be really happy without being able to forgive some things. And one of the choicest reasons why is they estimate that about 70% of our happiness is based on relationships. And it is realistically unavailable to be happy in relationship without being able to forgive. That in terms of what makes long-term successful, like intimate relationship, forgiveness is one of the 5 most important qualities. For getting along at work, you have to be able to forgive, and you have to be able to forgive yourself, because we all make mistakes and fail. So if you go down the food chain from happiness to relationship down to forgiveness, in that context, you could see how forgiveness is an essential piece of a life of happiness.
Thank you. And knowing we're close to time, before I hand it back to Melissa so she can announce the winners of the Forgive for Good book today, or several books, I would like to ask this last tactical question, which came up from one of our participants. Is the course you mentioned, the Stanford course that you mentioned, is it open to the public, or is it a public version of it that we can tell people about? I don't know if the audio is not working, or maybe Dr. Luskin, are you on mute?
Oh, are you guys talking to me? I thought I was done because it's 12:45.
Oh, okay, no worries. Yeah, we can. So yeah, we can follow up with this question for you. So for now, we just wanna thank you for your time and sharing all these great insights. And we will be in touch with this last question later.
Oh, no, I'm happy to talk to you guys. I just was no longer like paying attention like that. I was, that there was.
Okay. Yeah. It was just.
I thought you would just be wrapping up. And that's it.
Yeah. We're wrapping up. But this last question is: if the Stanford course that you mentioned, if it's open to the public?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. So we'll get information about it. So thank you so much. So we're gonna wrap up now. Melissa will give the prizes and say the closing comment. And thank you, Dr. Luskin. I know you need to go, so we'll be in touch. And thanks again for being with us today.
Hey, thank you, Pierre. And I know we're gonna meet at some point in March, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
I hope you got what you needed from this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Dr. Luskin, for joining, and thank you all. And I'd like to just real quickly announce the 3 winners of Dr. Luskin's book. They are Adi Marty, Yvonne Lee, and Michael Moore. So congratulations. Thank you for joining. We'll be in touch via email, and we'll get those out to you. When we exit the session today, a feedback form will pop up, and we would greatly appreciate your feedback. Thank you again all for joining, and we look forward to having you in a future session. Have a great rest of your day.